Hello, everyone. Welcome to this next Casual Conversations podcast with me,
Yeah,
Marlou.
welcome.
Yeah, today we have a difficult theme, a topic for you to discuss and to bring up. And we're really going to do this a little bit more from the feeling level, and because it's important. And why is it important? Well, the theme that I keep saying theme, but I mean topic, um, is the core of the masculine wound and the core of the feminine wound. And why did we choose this topic, Marlu and me? Because this is something that goes very deep. And when you're deeply on the path of finding balance and healing within yourself, you come across these incredibly deep wounds that don't seem to resolve themselves. And there's all these nuances and difficulties around that we are navigating when we're doing this alone. And it becomes virtually impossible to get out of that minefield, I find. And it creates it's such a, and what am I speaking about when I say that? I'm speaking about a fundamental disconnect from feeling connected to ourselves, who we are, and each other as a reflection of that. And when that disconnect goes deep enough because you're sensitive and you've experienced repeated trauma on that level of feeling, at a certain point, everything else takes over. Everything you don't want fills in that space. And it becomes virtually impossible to open up to that heart space of love again in the right way. And it has so many implications for connection with others and society and the way we see the world today that I want to discuss this deeper with Marlu. So that's my introduction. Marlu, do you want to?
Yeah, thank you for that intro.
Yeah.
This is a very like topic that could be like split in more episodes even.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, and I think the feminine and the masculine and both have a lot of those wounds and um, it's difficult to even like acknowledge that those
Yeah.
are there.
Yeah. Good starting point.
And that's maybe
The
a
first
lot of
step.
healing is in that step,
Yeah.
like that there is a space that you can share a wound like that,
Yeah.
because uh, I don't know, as a society and as humans, I know collective, we have this, I feel a bit of a duty together to help each other out and don't let people like hang,
Yeah.
and then point fingers like, oh, look at that, and look at how wounded that guy has been, or
Yeah.
that person has been, or that woman has been.
Yeah.
And we're never going to get there anywhere
Yeah.
if we keep like amplifying the separation of the people that have things together and the people that don't. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to start it off with that.
Yeah. And I think that as we take a moment to sink into the feeling level of this and slow down the pace a little bit, um, the acknowledgement, as you mentioned, is the first step. And often that's already too painful because we don't even want to see, because opening up to seeing and feeling and experiencing the depth of our pain feels sometimes endless when you go to these level of wounds. And then fundamentally, what happens is when we don't open up to acknowledge them in ourselves, we already create a mismatch with the environment, with others that can't feel it for us. So we're all already, by definition, partially projecting the depth of that pain on each other. And I would say that to 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 begin to become a little bit more specific here, can we state what, if I were to do a little exercise with you, what do you think? Because this is important for me and for men listening to this. I think many men carry very deep burdens from the line of the father that they experience in isolation, that requires an enormous amount of love and compassion, that when they are misunderstood in that place doesn't happen, that creates further pain and isolation and disconnect. And this is a fundamental thing that I'm very connected to, that I think this is where a lot of, well, I've already stated it in the exercise now, but I'm wondering what you as a woman have to share when I say that, because what I find is that it is very difficult to communicate for men this nature of this wound to women that then misunderstand. And this is how we get, in that sense, gender biological differences that create the dissatisfaction and the no connection and the emptiness and the disillusionment that we so often see at its core between men and women, for me.
The gap.
The gap. Yeah.
It's the gap.
So let's start there to sort of summarize it into that. And I don't know what I'm asking, but I'm asking, I guess, for this podcast, as this is obviously this is a very vulnerable topic again, but I don't know how to bridge that gap. After all the work I've done and all the knowledge and wisdom I've gained, I sometimes feel like that gap has grown and it has not shrunk. And I know that part of that is the story, but it feels that way nonetheless. And that's scary. That's a scary place to be.
Exactly. That is the wound.
Yeah.
Being misunderstood. That's a part of the wounds.
Yeah.
Being misunderstood. And
it has more implications than being misunderstood, because it's also, as a result of being misunderstood, being misaligned with people in life, not being able to create connection.
It creates another layer on top.
It creates all these layers on top that I see many people in humanity further this gap, and it gets more and more difficult to function in society with that gap also.
It creates isolation.
Yeah. So there's definitely those things. And so that's the masculine version of this pain, which I guess women carry to an extent as well. So now, what would be the feminine wound?
Feminine wounds.
Yeah, so I'm putting you on the spot here.
It's tough. I think there's a lot of, we carry so much like compressed wounds and patterns from family lineage, from past lives, from all of that. And to be able to let go, you need to peel the layer like an onion, layer for layer. You need to peel it back. And then afterwards, you get clarity around a piece of the wound, and then you can let it go if you have proper help. And I know, Lionel, you are very good at, you have helped me peel a lot of layers of my wounds of the feminine. And it's not only my wound, it's like also, we carry also a lot of collective stuff very deeply. And every layer you let go, it impacts on a collective level. And some of us doing this work, and a lot of people, they don't know, and they just go along with life. And
Yeah.
there are groups of people that dive in and do all this stuff. And I know I've done a lot of work for the feminine on a collective level.
Mhm.
But in the first place, to want to know what are my pieces in that, and what are my wounds in that, to become to experience more freedom for myself, and then the benefit was like, oh, this is a collective piece here, and yeah, that's even more beautiful if you can have that. But it's tough to get specific on this.
Yeah.
I guess.
It is tough to get specific, but if I were to challenge you a little bit on that and say, so the feminine wound, if I were to describe it in one part, one facet of the feminine wound that women experience, maybe more than men, is they tend to have this nurturing, caring frequency very strongly connected to love. And love always has, on the human level, a flip side of burden taking and sacrifice. And very many women are connected to a type of service out of love that comes from a place of deeply being wounded in themselves as a woman, in their feminine essence, which means they sacrifice themselves to receive the love that they need in order to heal that wound. And then they become bitter and resentful, and then they, as a result of that, they become more demanding, or on one level, of what they want in life with their expectations, or they go the other direction and they go within, they shut down, and they disconnect from their essence further if they cannot stand up with enough self-worth to go into that space of connection effectively. And I think that is a big part where culturally and religion has played its role as well in the wounding of that for women.
Yeah.
And the suppression of the feminine essence. What do you say when I share that?
Yeah, well said. There's
And
this
how do you
piece.
feel? Yeah.
Yeah, there's this piece around needing to be, or I don't know, as a woman, you have this natural piece of caring, nurturing, caring within. And but in the past, we can have a lot of feelings of when we've been taken advantage of, when we would be like in the space of like open, and then you would get taken advantage of, and then you create all these new feelings around this, so you close it off, and you don't go along that path again. But the tough thing is you have to like go forward in life, and you try to then you try to work around, you create workarounds, you kind of like skip the nature of your essence, because it has such deep wounds of all those like taken advantage of, and working has always, maybe it has always has been a piece of sacrifice, where you felt you were always like undervalued, in a way. People have taken more of your energy than you have given back. There was this
You've
imbalance.
received back, you mean? Right.
Yeah, very big imbalance.
Yeah.
And this is very hard because the easy
Mhm.
thing to do is like go along with the pain and
Mhm.
then close off and then never open up again
Mhm.
and create workarounds in life, and which like never actually gonna satisfy you because the purity of your core that wants to express in a certain way is like still stuck, you
Mhm.
know, and
Mhm.
that's
And I
yeah,
would say that when you share that, that in the core of it, we are overflowing in each other as men and women with our own sets of issues, with the same wounds, where we are in lack and in depletion and in pain. And then we try and, from that place, we deplete each other. And it comes from what you're
yeah,
sharing is we cannot reach the essence of ourselves from which we
yeah,
can actually recharge and regenerate our own life force and connect to our own selves in a way that nourishes and uplifts. And when we are unable to do that, we deplete each other on the connection with each other. When we connect
yeah,
on that wound, those deep wounds, this is very difficult because then again, we come to the point where when you're in that place, you need help. But at the same time, as we shared in earlier podcasts, the one where we talked about those how other if other people what other people can do for you, they can't really
yeah,
help you so much, really, because it needs to come from within. So you get in this loop where you need, where I see many people, and I've definitely one of those, where you need help, but you cannot help yourself, but you need to help yourself in order to be able to receive more help. So it becomes this cycle that either cycles down very deeply, or if you're hopefully find that inner strength and nurturing to connect and find the right sources of support in community setting, which will be another podcast, but you find the right people that can match with you, not on the wound, but on the possibilities of growing beyond it, so that you
yeah,
can actually begin to heal and fill yourself up and find a deeper state of balance within yourself where you can stable the stability of it, so you can begin that process of finding your way back out of that deep
yeah,
hole,
yeah,
let's say. And that is, even that alone is a difficult path because many people don't have those tools or people around them to be able to do that, so they get stuck in these loops, especially in these days where everything gets very amplified and they don't know, the world is spinning sort of out of control and they don't, the stress
yeah.
levels are spinning out of control. So you need to be stronger and more stable than ever in that
Pain seems to get
generating.
stuck.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's the pain seems to get stuck
Yeah,
and don't seem to get like, if you have the feminine wounds on the one hand and the masculine wounds on in the other party, you know, and we both carry those wounds,
yeah,
and it's very tough because there's also this difference in how men and women think.
yeah,
So this is also a
yeah,
level of miscommunication that is there
yeah.
present. And then what I realized for myself was, when I keep stuck in my wounds, you know, and I feel like this wounded woman with this pain,
Mm-hmm.
and there comes a man along and he tries to um, engage with his essence, like to be there from his masculine
Mm-hmm.
energy, and because I'm in my wound, I
Mm-hmm.
cannot receive it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then what happens to this man?
Yeah,
It can
he
This
cannot
man,
give it, which
he
is going to be his
cannot,
wound.
yeah, he cannot he is not, he's even his frequency, his essence is not being received by the feminine,
Exactly.
which
Yeah,
creates wounding in him.
yeah,
And you know, and we have to um go over both wounds and then come together to heal both pieces.
yeah.
And that's the that is another layer of pain.
Yeah.
What is there, what I can sense for, what I can feel compassion for the masculine, is
Yeah.
how if women are very deeply in pain, and because of that, their essence isn't received. It's like, oh, and the other way around also. If there's a man deeply in pain and there's a woman
Mhm.
with that purity of feminine essence, and I wants to like bring that forth, and it's not able to go to the other side, to the man,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
it's like just
Yeah. Yeah. You're speaking to something very important, because this is the summary, the essence, the conclusion of what we're saying is that when those wounds are deep enough, you close down a certain part of the ability to receive, essentially,
Mhm.
because the wound, being identified with the wound so deeply because it's become part of you, means that you cannot so easily receive, especially not from a person or the other gender, because often our wounds have happened in connection with others. So
Mm.
the very source of the healing is also the source of the pain. And so
Yeah.
we don't know how to, it becomes this cycle that you don't, eventually it becomes this thing where you can't get out of very easily. And um and I think a lot of relationships are based on that pain, which is why ultimately as you grow they grow apart, because that wound is a big part of the healing. And of course this is different for everyone as well, and not everyone has an aim or has the connection so strongly to these wounds, so they may not experience that in their lives so much, and they may not be focused on it either, which is also a good thing sometimes. But
Mhm.
yeah, I really think that for many people this will be the case, and they will be in a cycle of searching for, and then they search for other people that don't, they think that the solution is in another person that may not have that wound, but they will always become a mirror of the same
Mm.
parts within you and realign in that configuration with you, which is very painful because it will actually cycle down your trust in people and others, which is what I've experienced
Yeah.
very deeply as well. um,
It's like very disempowering for
it's very
women and
disempowering.
men.
Yeah. Yeah.
It keeps, when those wounds are still there,
Yeah.
and it's like you have to experience it again and again,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't, it's not helpful.
No. So let's take a moment in the last few minutes that are left to actually give something encouraging to people, because this is all bad news. um, and it feels hopeless, and we might as well just end our lives or something, which is, kind of. But is is there something positive here under all of this that we can bring into this moment? Because we only have the present moment. We don't have anything else. We don't have the past or the future. We just have now. What can we do in this moment um, to bring people some hope and support in this? If those of you listening to this are really resonating with what we're speaking about here, you have any ideas, Marlu?
Well, the word compassion comes up,
Yeah, you mentioned that already. Very important piece.
and if that's not there, then both parties aren't getting anywhere,
Yeah.
you know.
So
And
why
if you
don't we
can
take?
feel, and one little thing, one thing that has helped me a lot when I was stuck in my own wounds, what helped me was what I could do in those moments. And then
Mm,
this that may be not resonating for everyone, but for me, it was like, um, if I could feel in that moment compassion for the
mm,
other party, then that compassion, that feeling of compassion, healed my own wound.
yeah. Yeah, I recognize this, where again, coming back to what you said earlier about the masculine giving and the feminine receiving, I often find that if I wait to receive the compassion that I need, it's, or I try and find it, that doesn't work. If I bring it to the moment by giving in whatever way, I actually heal
Mm,
myself more. So
exactly. Yeah.
it's the very, it's very contradictory in a way. And so maybe in this moment, we connect together in a small mini meditation where we bring in this feeling of compassion stronger together for those of you listening, um, as an exercise that you can come back to connect deeper to the feeling of compassion, um, as a foundational stone, a cornerstone, like Marlu said, that if you don't have that cornerstone there, that foundation, it's very difficult to fall back on compassion when the pain comes up, so in order to rise above it again and heal at a deeper level. So, so let's do that. Shall we do that?
Yeah.
Do you want to guide it or shall I guide it?
I think you can guide it.
Okay.
You're very,
So I don't know how this looks, but let's all of you take a moment to drop in for a few minutes to yourself. Maybe close your eyes if you're sitting, or whatever position you're in right now, get comfortable. Just take a moment to just feel. Maybe there's some tension, like in your chest. Fear because of that wound maybe being brought up to the surface of your psyche, where you feel maybe a little bit lost or fearful of whether things will actually get better or change. So notice this is also part of the mind coming in, saying that. As you feel your heart space in your center of your chest, begin to soften into the compassion, this feeling of what compassion would feel like if you don't really know what it feels like to have compassion for yourself, experiencing all this distress and fear. Feeling that slowly expand as you take a deep breath in. On the out breath, feeling the expansion of the chest heart space, as if your heart is growing larger than your physical body, or the physical space the heart's taking up as an organ, and it grows beyond that. Maybe you see a color of what that looks like. Maybe green or red, blue, whatever, or yellow, whatever that heart compassion energy feels like, looks like. As it's growing beyond your physical body, just notice how much peace comes over you now. That you can rest within that space of stillness. That if you're able to connect to that space more often, when the fears, the tensions, and the distress comes up, it grounds you and it strengthens you in the feeling level connection to yourself and your body, your experience. Notice the head space as well. Maybe there's some tingling. That's the head space relaxing. Taking a few deep breaths. Slow breaths. You slow down deeper. To that space of nothing. And from this place, notice the increase of compassion that you feel for the world, for people, for the path, the journey that you're on, for the battles that it has felt like that you've overcome. The things that haven't gone your way, that were not your fault. Even for the pain that has been done to you, that you are innocent of. Let it digest in that compassionate space in the center of your heart so that you soften. You solidify this space as it grows now also to the lower part of your body, and it spreads everywhere, and it uplifts your energy because it's actually very powerful energy. Nothing controls you when you're in a deep space of compassion for what is. It's how famous people like Nelson Mandela overcame so much adversity that was done to him through a space of the deepest levels of compassion for himself, for others. And know that this place is not always easy to reach by yourself. We need support. All of us need support because we have blind spots to our own pain and our own struggles. We need mirrors and reflections in that way. So yes, we need to do it alone. Other people can't do it for us, but we do need that right source of support to help shift those feeling level states, bring in those awarenesses. So as we begin to bring this meditation to a close, coming back into the space, as you open your eyes again and really feel refreshed, taking that imprint with you of what compassion feels like. Begin to round off this call, which went into some interesting directions, Marlu. Very unplanned, because spontaneous and in the moment is always the most powerful. Always being open to what can happen without the mind identifying what it is that will happen. Is a very powerful, flexible, adaptive space to be in. right?
Mm.
That's the key also to overcoming some of these deeper wounds of fear, paralysis, and just yeah, that's all I have
Mm.
to say for now. Anything you want to add to that, Marlu? What did you notice?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope we could bring this space of compassion through, so you can get a sense of what it feels like,
Mm.
instead of how that, that's the pain is never ending and you keep stuck. There is
Mm.
also there's always this field of compassion around.
Mm.
That's even when you're stuck, then there is always this space around that's here, that is
Yeah.
supportive, that is this healthy balance of masculine and feminine. And
Yeah.
yeah, I want to like bring that in as the last piece.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So take this space with you as we end this call, and really maybe sit in it a little bit longer for some of you, or maybe at least come back to it a few times just to remember, create a remembrance and anchor in to your system a
Yeah.
feeling of what is possible when you're in deep struggles. And I hope that this podcast, this casual conversation on the masculine and feminine wound, helped you connect deeper and feel closer one another as all of you connect in whichever way you do in your life with others, so that you can begin to understand and feel compassion for those those wounds that want to be healed through all of us collectively on our paths. So with that, for today, let's round it off, and we'll come back with another casual conversation another time.
Yeah, it was very beautiful.
Yeah, thanks for all the support.
Thanks for listening,
And
everyone.
yeah.
And your beautiful guided meditation. Okay. Until next time.